Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, if you have enjoyed the session this morning, please raise your hand and say yes. Okay. You know, the afternoon session just after lunch is the most difficult one because the neurons of the stomach, and I'm not joking, there are neurons in the stomach, take over from the neurons in the head. And so we all tend to fall a bit light. So with your permission, at the middle of your session, I'm going to get everybody to do something to stay awake. It is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce the panel that will be moderated by Mr. Franz Dries Gross, Director of Transport, Global Practice at the World Bank. I will invite the panelists to come and join him. The first one I am not seeing at the moment, might join us in a few minutes. Let me go to the second one. Okay. The second one is from the Gambia, Mr. Lamin Usman Jobe, His Excellency, the Minister of Transport and Works and Infrastructure. You can do better than this. Please clap your hands, put your hands together. Thank you. Whilst Minister Jobe is taking place, I'm going to call the third one from Burkina Faso, Mr. Timbindi Vincent Dabilgu, Minister of Transport, Urban Mobility and Road Safety. Please clap your hands and welcome him. He will join us in a minute. From Liberia, Mr. Samuel Vloue, Minister of Transport. Please put your hands together for him. Welcome on stage. Thank you. And from Ghana, Asiama Ofori, Minister of Transport. Welcome on stage. From Sierra Leone, Mr. Kabine Moinama Kalon, Minister of Transport and Aviation. He will join us shortly. From Central Africa, Mr. Theodore Jusso, Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation. Oh. He's coming, oh, very good. From the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mr. Jose Sumanda Makila, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Transport and Communication. From Lesotho, Mr. Ramanru Tselo Moses, Minister of Public Works and Transport. From Lesotho, okay, Pass will join us. From Comoros, Mr. Mohamed Chatur Badawi, Minister of Land, Use Planning and Urbanism. Please give him a big round of applause. From Sweden, somebody that I became friend with at lunch, Matthias Landgren, State Secretary of Transport. Please give him a round of applause. And from France, Monsieur Pierre Copé, Président Directeur Général of Vincin Autoroutes. Is Mr. Copé here? And from the host country, Mr. Bourif, Minister of Transport, who just joined us. Please give him a big round of applause. So this session, Strategic Institutional Management of Road Safety in Africa, Current Situation, will be monitored and will be moderated by Mr. Dries Gross. I'll leave you the floor, and I'll come in midway.
Very good, thank you. So welcome to the afternoon session. I hope you have the energy for this. We have such a great panel, and we can really probe now in more detail what individual countries are doing to address the road safety challenges in Africa. You remember some of the headline figures from the morning, right? Africa has the highest road fatality rates in the world. 270,000 Africans dying a year on African roads, 20% of the world total. And I think one thing we didn't discuss much in the morning is the profile of those dying. So 39% of them are pedestrians. Another 11% are bicyclists or motorcycle riders. So between those three groups, 50% of the people dying, much higher percentage than in other regions, are the so-called vulnerable users. So what I'd like to do is we'll go through our distinguished panel of ministers and also representatives from some European countries, Sweden in particular. We'll go through the group of our African colleagues first and ask each of them just in 2 minutes to say what is their country doing to address these challenges and what are some of the things that are having an impact. We'll go one round, give everybody 2 minutes just to make a general appreciation of their overall response. Then we'll go back and I'll ask each of them a really hard-hitting question, right? I promised them I wouldn't say something politically incorrect, but I'll ask each of you, not a very tough question, a soft-serve question. And then we'll open it to the floor for your questions. So without further ado, let me pass the microphone to my colleague here from the Gambia to tell us a little bit about what Gambia is doing to meet the road safety challenge.
Thank you very much, moderator. May I first of all thank the organizers of this forum on this very important topic. Now, I will start by saying that in the case of Gambia, what can be said is that there is a very close relationship between the topic and good governance. Because in my country, for the last 2 decades, road safety was not an issue because of bad governance. And recently, when we had a new government, which is much more democratic, we have been very serious about a lot of issues, one of which is road safety. In fact, we started by looking at our transport policy, which we revised, updated it, and made sure that road safety was given a very high visibility. We also appointed a lead agency, which is my ministry, Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure. And the ministry has appointed a national road safety committee comprising of all the stakeholders, and also appointed working groups that are going to be like a technical arm to the committee. We have also, for the next budget, 2019, increased the budget of road safety to about 300%. And I think these are all indicators that we are going to be very serious about road safety. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Let me pass the microphone around. I think, there's actually another one right next to you, Minister.
Hello? Hello? Put your hands up if you can hear me. Can you hear me? That's good. I'm following the MC's lead. I'm from Liberia, a very interesting country in the last few years. In the last few months, we've made road safety very important agenda on our new government issue. Just last month, for the first time, we established our own Road Safety Commission. Now we have a Road Safety National Action Plan that we have begun to work with. In our action plan, we've also established a national secretariat that encompasses all of the key agencies that deals with education, with health, with law enforcement, and with the Ministry of Transportation. Those issues as it relates to road safety and the safety of all our pedestrians are being followed. We've also identified the key challenges for ourselves: safe vehicles for travel, road users' behavior, post-crash responses, and good roads for folks to travel on. Those are the things we are now focused on, and those are the things that we hope we can accomplish before 2020.
Thank you very much. Before I proceed, let me welcome all of you to this important forum and also use the opportunity to wish you a Merry Christmas. And I hope that then, yes, we are in November, and I'm sure you will not have the opportunity to meet again as a group. So it's an opportunity for me to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, and I hope that the new year will come and meet all of us. In our parts, where I'm coming from, Ghana, our national road safety management is driven by a lead agency which has been established about more than 20 years ago. We have our national road safety policy plan. We have our national road safety strategy, which include an action plan of education, engineering, enforcement, and emergency response with about 8 agencies. Our database has been in existence since 1991, which we set ourselves a target for 2020 for about less than 1,000 deaths and 2,000 crashes. Unfortunately, the figures are pointing to different directions. We are recording about 2,000 deaths and more than 10,000 injuries, which is not good for us. So we are facing some challenges about indiscipline, non-conforming to road safety regulations, infrastructure deficiencies. So the government has come out with a policy of setting up a ministerial committee comprising of transport, road, and interior to do a lot of enforcement and also try to change the mandate of the authority from a commission, from road safety commission to authority, or just to give some forms of powers to National Road Safety Commission to enable them to enforce some of the regulations that they are supposed to do. So going forward, that is exactly what we are trying to do to make sure that at least the road safety measures that we are putting in place are really something that we should get something, not only on paper, but effectively to get something out of it, because the figures are not good. Thank you very much.
Afternoon. I bring greetings from my president, His Excellency retired Julius Madabiu. Before I start, yesterday we celebrated road safety in Sierra Leone. As we are here, the other group, we are celebrating the road safety. Our challenges are very high in Sierra Leone. Let me just say something. If you look at the figure of the death rate due to a road accident, in Sierra Leone, we have about 24.1% of the road accidents, death rate per 1,000. It's very high compared to our neighboring countries like Liberia, Guinea, and Ivory Coast. All this due to policies that have been put in place but not implemented. As a new government being in governance only for 6 months, we met so many unforeseen problems. But as a system, we want to change the narratives. What we have put in place, we have tried to formulate land transport policy, integrated transport planning with land user, bus service network planning, management of road traffic and maintain roads infrastructure, promote public transport, regulate public transport services, regulate private transport, control illegal parking of vehicles. As you know, most of our cities were built during the colonial days. So no provision was made for parking, only 2 lane. With the 2 lane, I always consider as a 1 lane, because normally when vehicle park, like the public transport, so we have only 1 lane left. So we have a lot of constraint how to manage the system. But as a new government, we are still on the initial stage and see what we can do to ease traffic congestion and also control road accident. Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أود في البداية سيد رئيس الجلسة المحترم أن أعيد الترحاب بزملائي السادة الوزراء المحترمين الذين تفضلوا بحضور هذا المنتدى، وأيضا أن أشكركم جميعا كل من موقعه بهذا الحضور في هذا المنتدى الذي بالفعل نريده أن يكون منتدى أول تتلوه منتديات مستقبلية في السلامة الطرقية. في المملكة المغربية التعاطي مع ملف السلامة الطرقية باختصار شديد يركز على عدة مستويات. المستوى المؤسساتي المرتبط بحكامة التدبير على صعيد السلامة الطرقية. الآن رئيس الحكومة الذي تفضل اليوم بالإشراف وإلقاء الكلمة في هذا الملتقى يشرف شخصيا على ملف السلامة الطرقية من خلال لجنة بين وزارية تتضمن عديد من القطاعات الوزارية المرتبطة بالسلامة الطرقية. فإذن هناك اهتمام على أعلى صعيد بملف السلامة الطرقية، وأحدثنا مؤسساتيا هيئة اللي هي اللجنة اللي هي الوكالة اليوم ديال السلامة الطرقية التي ستجمع وستكون عندها الالتقائية ديال التعاطي مع ملفات السلامة الطرقية من طرف مختلف الفاعلين، وستتضمن مختلف الإجراءات التي اليوم مقسمة على عديد من الهيئات ومن القطاعات. ثم أيضا انتقلنا إلى الاستراتيجية الوطنية للسلامة الطرقية التي وضعناها 2017-2026. هدفها الرئيس والأساس هو تقليص عدد القتلى في أفق 2026 ب50%، وركزنا على 5 مبادئ رئيسية للاشتغال. المبدأ المرتبط بالراجلين، والمبدأ المرتبط بالدراجات النارية والدراجات العادية، ثم أيضا المبدأ المرتبط بالسيارات أو العربات التي بها سائق واحد، ثم أيضا المجال الرابع وهو الأطفال الذين يقل سنهم عن 14 سنة، والمجال الخامس هو الذي يرتبط بالنقل المهني. وهذه الارتكازات الخمس عندنا فيها عدة إجراءات اللي من خلالها نستطيع أن نترجم الاستراتيجية الوطنية إلى إجراءات أفقية ثم إجراءات عمودية. الهدف منها بالأساس هو التجاوب مباشرة مع أسباب حوادث السير وأسباب عدد القتلى. ثم عندنا إجراءين اللي هما إجراءين أفقيين. الإجراء الأول مرتبط بالسلوك، لأن أصل 90% من عدد القتلى في المملكة المغربية راجع إلى السلوك، بالإضافة إلى 4-5% راجع إلى البنية التحتية، و4-5% راجع إلى العربات والحالة الميكانيكية. إذن السلوك كهدف أفقي. ثم أيضا الجانب الآخر المرتبط بالوقاية المدنية وبكل ما هو طبي وصحي، لأنها جزء لا بأس به من عدد القتلى، هو راجع للمرحلة التي بين وقوع الحادثة إلى 3-4 أيام في المستشفى. في هذه المرحلة نحرص على أن يكون هناك تنظيم جيد في هذا المستوى. على الصعيد لا تمركز، لأن السلامة الطرقية ليست مسألة وزارة أو هيئة مركزية وطنية، وقعنا اتفاقيات شراكة مع المنتخبين ومع المسؤولين الإداريين بالمدن الكبرى التي بها أكثر عدد من الحوادث. وقعنا لحد الآن حوالي 10 اتفاقيات على أساس تنزيل ما هو مركزي على الصعيد المدن، أولا لكي يشعر المنتخب على الصعيد المحلي بأنه معني بالسلامة الطرقية، وأيضا على الصعيد المسؤولين المحليين يشعروا على أنهم بالفعل هم مسؤولين بالجانب ديال السلامة الطرقية. إذن هذا باختصار الجانب المؤسساتي التشريعي، ثم الجانب الحكامي، ثم الاستراتيجية الوطنية، ثم التدبير والتنزيل على الصعيد المدن وعلى صعيد الجماعات، بالإضافة إلى المجتمع المدني اللي هو شريك فاعل وأساس ورئيس، بالإضافة إلى إدخال كل ما مرتبط بالسلامة الطرقية في البرامج التربوية، والذي جعلنا له السنة المقبلة كبداية التطبيق إن شاء الله. شكرا لكم.
Bon après-midi, mesdames et messieurs. Excusez-moi de ma voix qui s'est éteinte avec la fraîcheur. Je voudrais aussi à mon tour remercier SCCP pour son aimable invitation. Notre présence ici nous permet de partager les expériences avec les autres États. Je pense que les problèmes que nous connaissons dans chacun de nos pays se retrouvent de manière presque identique partout. Le problème de conducteurs de véhicules, de l'état des véhicules, de l'état des infrastructures et la prise en charge donc, de la sécurité routière au niveau institutionnel de chacun de notre pays. Dans le cas spécifique de mon pays, la République centrafricaine, est apparue une nouvelle population des usagers de la route. Il s'agit donc des motos-taxis. Les motos-taxis sont intervenus à la faveur des crises politiques et militaires que nous avons connues et qui se traduisent par une interruption des services de transport urbain. Donc des jeunes, désœuvrés pour la plupart, se sont lancés dans cette activité, malheureusement sans préparation, sans encadrement. Donc des jeunes sans code de la route qui investissent donc l'espace public et créent véritablement des problèmes de traumatisme et des décès très graves parce que les services de santé publique nous ont alertés que le nombre d'accidents ou de traumatismes qui se traduisent par des décès dépasse les statistiques des autres endémies, notamment la malaria. Et donc, ce phénomène nous interpelle. En tant que gouvernement responsable, nous devons donc organiser ce métier, encadrer ces jeunes en leur fournissant dans l'apprentissage du code de la route, en les encadrant par les services d'assurance et puis surtout en essayant de les sensibiliser au phénomène de prise d'alcool ou de stupéfiants qui impactent négativement sur leur métier et qui sont à l'origine des maux que nous dénonçons aujourd'hui. Donc vous voyez, mesdames et messieurs, que nous sommes vraiment confrontés à un type nouveau de phénomènes qui apparaissent dans nos sociétés lorsque des jeunes qui n'ont pas été préparés à un emploi qualificatif investissent le domaine routier et se comportent vraiment de la manière la plus dangereuse. Donc l'Agence pour la sécurité routière en cours de création prend en compte déjà ce phénomène-là dans son étude de faisabilité avant son opérationnalisation, afin donc de répondre de manière concrète à cette problématique d'insécurité créée par les mototaxis. Et en cela, donc, nous voudrons bénéficier aussi de l'expérience des autres pays africains. Je pense à la ville de Cotonou, la ville de Ouagadougou, à certaines villes d'Afrique, donc, qui ont vécu les phénomènes de mototaxis et voir comment, à leur niveau, ils ont pu juguler ce phénomène-là. Je vous remercie.
Merci. Tout d'abord, je tenais à remercier aux autorités marocaines pour l'accueil chaleureux que nous ont réservé dès notre arrivée. Et puis, vous parlez un petit peu des Comores, certainement parmi vous, il y a beaucoup de personnes qui ne connaissent pas les Comores, puisque vous aurez du mal à les trouver dans la carte. C'est 4 points qui se situent entre Madagascar et la côte est-africaine. Il s'agit des îles Comores, qui a une superficie de 2235 km². Donc voilà, pour ceux qui ne se retrouvent pas, vous allez regarder dans la carte, c'est 4 points souvent microscopiques que vous ne verrez pas souvent. S'agissant de la sécurité routière, le problème que nous affrontons actuellement aux Comores, c'est que nous avons des routes très délabrées et très étroites, ce qui cause beaucoup d'accidents au sein de notre pays. Et le gouvernement dont je représente ici a entamé une politique de réhabilitation et de réfection de l'ensemble des réseaux routiers. Et ces actions permettront à des personnes, la circulation des personnes et des biens et la fluidité des trafics routiers. Mais nous savons, une fois que vous avez des belles routes, et la conséquence, c'est que vous avez encore des accidents. Et cela a fait l'objet d'un projet de loi que je viens de présenter. Et en ce moment, elle est en commission parlementaire en train d'être débattue. Et sera bientôt en plénière, qui parle de tout ce qui est sécurité routière, parce que vous connaissez les fléaux que peut-être dans beaucoup de pays africains et en Europe est dû à la vitesse. Et une fois que nous aurons des belles routes, certainement les chauffeurs auront tendance à appuyer sur la pédale, ce qui causera beaucoup d'accidents, raison pour laquelle nous avons anticipé un petit peu pour essayer de présenter un code de la route déjà vétuste, afin que nous puissions prendre les mesures préventives pour éviter le maximum d'accidents une fois que le réseau routier sera réhabilité. Je vous remercie.
So our next speaker, Mr. Matthias Landgren, is from the State Secretary of Transport in Sweden. And I think it would be interesting, we've heard all the challenges our colleagues face in Africa and Morocco and everywhere. Sweden's one of the countries that's actually brought road fatalities down to a very low level, if not the lowest level anywhere. And it's one of the early adopters of the safe system approach. So it would be interesting for you to tease out a little bit, what are some of the lessons that you think might work and would be the first step that some of our colleagues might use? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Franz, and thank you so much for this great conference here. Now, Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, well, it's such an honor for me to be here in Morocco and to be able to take part in this important conference and the first African Road Safety Forum. I'm very happy to be here in a country that shows such a great hospitality. Thank you so much. And first time in Morocco, but it will not be the last time, that's for sure. Much better weather than Sweden right now, that's for sure. It's of great value here to meet with stakeholders from a region where Sweden is a long time standing partner. And we are here to talk about road safety. And you know all the urgency of this matter. As Etienne Cru from the WTO said earlier, approximately 1.5 million people are killed every year in road traffic accidents around the world. And it's this opening statement we saw here earlier on the stage. It was very, very touching. And that is what we're dealing with here. We are the ones who have to make sure that this 1.25 million people are not dead, and we can do something about it, we, the ministers, of course. And almost half of these are vulnerable road users being killed in traffic while riding motorbikes, bicycle, or while walking in the streets. And the fact that cannot be ignored, and we have an opportunity, or we have an enormous challenge ahead of us together. Well, since the beginning of the millennium, the number of fatalities in traffic in Sweden has been halved, just as you said, Franz. We have reduced from 591 in 2000 to 253 in 2017. And over the last 10 years, the number of children killed in traffic has also been more than halved. That's okay figures. We are proud, but we are not satisfied. The aim for Vision Zero is still very much viable in Sweden. And the path of Sweden from where we started has not been straight over the years, and we have tested different methods. Having realized that the majority of the accidents are caused by driver behavior, Sweden has adopted the Vision Zero approach, or sometimes known as a safe system approach. And this approach does not mainly focus on the region of the accident, but rather on the region of the outcome of the accident, which is important. And the long-term objective of Vision Zero is that no one should be killed or seriously injured in traffic, and that the design, the function, and the use of the transport system should be aparted to that standard that this requires. And this means, my friends, that when designing the roads, the streets, the vehicles, human vulnerabilities must be taken into account. Otherwise, we will not reach the Vision Zero. Some people say it might be an utopian goal, but we as politicians, we need to set very high goals. Otherwise, we will not reach our targets. And this, I'm proud to say, has proven quite a successful road safety scheme, unless in Sweden. Well, the global community has responded to the challenge of road safety firmly. This conference is, of course, an evidence for that. And awareness has been raised and ambitious targets have been put in place. The UN Decade of Action for Road Safety, and most recently adding to that, the UN Sustainable Development Goals have mobilized the transport community, and progress has been made around the world. And the UN Sustainable Development Goals reflect that all countries are dependent on common global development. The goals stated in the agenda are indivisible, and we believe that the work with road safety must be done on all levels. In order to realize our goals within road safety, we must work together. And cooperation is the new leadership. In February 2020, I'm very proud to say that Sweden will, together with the WHO, host the third global ministerial UN conference on road safety. It will be cold in Sweden, it will be snow, but it will be very warm inside. This will be an important occasion at the end of the global decade of action on road safety. Our aim is that we will come together and evaluate developments globally and point out the way forward to new global targets for road safety. Ministers, colleagues, your participation will be of utmost importance in this conference in 2020. I hope to see you all there. The global character of the road safety challenge calls for global partnerships and cooperation. Therefore, we intend for this conference to have broad stakeholder engagement. States, region, local governments, civil society, academia, and private business will be invited. It is important that all of these stakeholders find their roles and responsibilities in this joint task. And we all face the same challenges. We need to work together and learn from each other to reach our goal. Let me just conclude by saying three messages I would like to put forward. We need to reduce road traffic fatalities. That is a global challenge. Secondly, there are solutions to road safety challenges that we face. And thirdly, international cooperation is a key. So, while I'm here at this forum, I hope to hear from the stakeholders here in Africa about your challenge and experience. With those words, I would like to all wish you fruitful days here at the conference, and it's been such a great honor again for me to be here and to listen to all of you, and I'm sure that we will have a fruitful exchange and a terrific conference. Thank you so much.
Let's give the microphone now to Mr. Pierre Copé, who's the Président Directeur Général of Vinci Autoroute. I think you're the only non-governmental stakeholder on the panel, so very curious for your views on what can be done on road safety, I suspect mostly on the engineering side of the system.
Merci beaucoup. Je suis particulièrement honoré de m'exprimer devant vous en étant en effet le seul représentant d'entreprise autour de cette table. Ça me donne d'ailleurs l'occasion de dire que je crois que les employeurs ont une lourde responsabilité dans la lutte contre l'insécurité routière, notamment parce que les trajets domicile-travail sont un segment d'accidentalité qu'il est assez aisé de combattre pour autant qu'on s'en occupe. J'interviens ici comme concessionnaire d'autoroute et comme concessionnaire d'autoroute, j'ai plaisir à souligner l'importance de l'infrastructure et l'importance de l'état des routes, de l'état des infrastructures, de la qualité des infrastructures qui est un contributeur extrêmement important et déterminant à la sécurité routière. On sait qu'en moyenne, l'accidentalité est très inférieure sur les autoroutes et que les autoroutes sont 5 fois plus sûres que les routes et il y survient 5 fois moins d'accidents que sur les infrastructures sur lesquelles il y a des croisements et sur lesquels il y a des niveaux de sécurité très inférieurs. C'est important de le souligner et ça n'est pas un plaidoyer pro domo, vous m'en ferez crédit, j'espère. Ce que je peux dire ici, c'est que en tant que président de société d'autoroute, nous avons décidé de créer la fondation Vinci Autoroute pour une conduite responsable. D'abord parce que nous sommes convaincus que c'est notre responsabilité sociale et notre responsabilité d'employeur de combattre l'insécurité routière. Ensuite parce que nous avons été très affectés à de nombreuses reprises par l'insécurité à laquelle sont soumis et exposés nos collaborateurs qui sont en intervention sur le réseau. Les fourgons d'intervention et le personnel d'intervention sur le réseau autoroutier est très vulnérable et très facilement atteint par une cause d'insécurité routière dont on parle trop peu, qui est la somnolence, l'hypovigilance, le manque d'attention. Et nous avons donc pris des initiatives fortes en matière de sécurité pour sensibiliser l'opinion et pour sensibiliser les utilisateurs, les conducteurs, au risque de l'hypovigilance. C'est le risque des smartphones au volant, c'est le risque lié au manque de sommeil et c'est le risque lié au défaut d'attention des conducteurs, qui sont des fléaux modernes et des fléaux que ne combattent en général pas suffisamment les politiques de prévention routière, trop centrées sur la vitesse et sur la lutte contre l'alcool au volant. C'est la raison pour laquelle nous nous sommes emparés de la cause de la lutte contre l'hypovigilance. Nous l'avons fait d'abord avec des moyens de sensibilisation. Nous avons beaucoup travaillé sur les questions de communication et je voudrais simplement partager aujourd'hui avec vous la création d'une plateforme en ligne qui s'appelle roulonsautrement.com, qui est le plus grand répertoire jamais créé de films de prévention routière. Je vous encourage vivement à aller sur ce site roulonsautrement.com. Nous y avons répertorié et donné un accès gratuit à tous les films possibles de sécurité routière et je veux croire que ça a été une contribution importante. Nous avons aussi développé un travail de recherche et de recherche médicale en partenariat avec différents universitaires et notamment avec l'Université de Strasbourg pour mesurer et démontrer de façon scientifique ce qu'on savait de façon intuitive, à savoir que le smartphone est une cause d'accidentalité. Nous l'avons naturellement et scientifiquement démontré. Nous avons également poursuivi un travail sur le sommeil et sur la dette de sommeil. Simplement, l'information qu'il faut en retenir, c'est que nous ne dormons pas assez. Non seulement nous ne dormons pas assez, mais nos contemporains dorment de moins en moins. Nous dormons 1 heure de moins aujourd'hui qu'il y a 20 ans. Et le fait de dormir 1 heure de moins aujourd'hui qu'il y a 20 ans fait que nous avons sommeil. Et le fait que nous ayons sommeil est une cause d'accidentalité redoutable. Nous avons développé plusieurs études sur ce sujet. Nous poursuivons également, et j'ai appris avec plaisir que le ministère des Transports marocain était sur une étude comparable. Nous poursuivons également un travail sur les marqueurs salivaires permettant de détecter le manque de sommeil, qui pourrait être une façon de prévenir l'accidentalité liée au manque de sommeil. Et puis nous avons développé de façon très systématique sur nos réseaux des opportunités de dormir pour nos clients de manière à leur permettre de se reposer et de manière à lutter contre la dette de sommeil et contre la somnolence. Tous ces phénomènes nous ont permis de mesurer à travers un baromètre de la sécurité routière que nous développons en Europe et que nous avons l'intention de développer en partenariat avec nos amis de Autoroute du Maroc, un baromètre qui permet de mesurer les évolutions. Ces évolutions montrent que les phénomènes que nous combattons, l'hypovigilance, la somnolence, la dette de sommeil, sont très sensibles aux actions de communication et aux actions de prévention. Et nous avons d'ores et déjà des résultats importants, notamment sur la lucidité des automobilistes, sur le risque que leur fait courir le manque de sommeil. C'est un petit succès, c'est une petite victoire dans l'océan de la lutte contre l'insécurité routière, mais c'est notre contribution et nous en sommes particulièrement satisfaits. Et voilà ce que je voulais partager avec vous aujourd'hui, en tout cas dans cette première phase d'intervention.
Thank you very much, distinguished guests, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to address you in this regard in this great event that has gathered all African leaders in road safety and transport. Each death on the road is one death too much. And every time someone dies or is seriously injured in the road accident, The grief and that extreme pain has a ripple effect in the wide community. Each year, worldwide, approximately 1.3 people died due to road crashes, and up to 50 million people suffer non-fatal injuries. Consequently, road crashes contributed to enormous suffering and serve as an obstacle to economy and social development in many countries. Road safety statistics in Lesotho indicate that from 2007, facilities per 100,000 population decreased from 21.4 deaths to 15.9 deaths in 2016, showing some improvement and growth in understanding road safety. Accidents are caused by excessive speed, pedestrian errors, careless driving, driving under influence of liquor and other similar bad practice. Road safety continues to adopt the great approach to road safety education, engineering measures and enforcement to traffic laws and regulations to have maximum effect in reducing the high speed of crashes on the roads. For example, enforcement of seat belt by car occupants, and concerted efforts and directed at the identification and treatment of black spots. Furthermore, in-depth research on risk and key contributory factors of road traffic crashes is needed for intervention programs and projects to reduce fatalities on the roads. Ladies and gentlemen, UN General Assembly now strongly advocate for road safety to be given attention it deserves by governments. The United Nations proclaimed in 2010 a decade of action of road safety, 2011-2020, with the specific goal of reducing traffic fatalities by half through increased and well-planned and coordinated activities at regional, national, and global levels by 2020. The second pillar of the decade of action, 2011 to 2020, it is safer infrastructure, highlighting that infrastructure plays a crucial role in road safety. Well-designed roads can help people use roads safely and minimize the risk that crash will occur. When a crash does happen, protective road infrastructure can mean the difference between life and death. It is imperative that transport remains a key sector in ensuring that there is a transformation of economy, as no economy in the whole world can sustain growth with credible and sound public transport system. Public transport in Lesotho remains a dominant factor in the day-to-day activities with regard to mobility. Huge number of Basotho relies on public transport and must be transported to work, schools, clinics, and centers for services on a daily basis. Our efforts to propel growth and development will be identified by the success and efficiency of our transport system that should be geared towards economic growth as our ambitions as the government is the promote economy and social development of our people through safe, reliable and efficient public transport using improvement infrastructure. Finally, road safety necessarily a shared responsibility and quite simple and matter of life and death. However, death and serious injury on our roads should not be seen as a inevitable or acceptable. I thank you.
So, thanks to all the ministers. Very good, very succinct summary of actually a lot going on in their countries already on road safety. What I'd like to do is we'll do one second round, and I'm just going to pick up on something each of you has said and just press you for a little bit more detail so we can share more of the knowledge with our audience. So I'd like you to, if you could keep your answers to about 2 minutes so that we have some time for questions from the audience. But I'll begin with my colleague from Gambia to my left. You mentioned there's a link between road safety and good governance. That's something that Gambia has taken away. Now, I think of some of the things that countries do in terms of legislation and enforcement that have a big impact. So let me just give you a few examples and ask you how this is working in practice in Gambia. Many countries have laws mandating the use of seatbelts, laws mandating the use of motorcycle helmets for motorcycle drivers. In some countries, but typically this is more in higher income countries, you have laws requiring infants to sit in car seats, right? And then you have laws in some countries, again, setting upper limits for alcohol in the blood, for example. So those 4 things, if I think seatbelts, helmets, blood alcohol, and if you really want to stretch, the child safety seats, which of those things exist by law in the Gambia? And in practice, even if they exist in the law, are they enforced? Or is it something that's a nice law, everybody loves having good laws, but in practice, nobody really enforces it? So please share with us your experience on that, Minister.
Thank you very much for those questions. I am not going to be pretentious about this and say that there are explicit laws for some of these things. In fact, we were going around in the exhibitions really looking for things that we can use as gadgets. I mean, ahead of the legislation. We went to visit the breathalyzer, people and the radars and all that. And we've been gathering information. But what my colleague and I have been doing, or my director of planning have been doing, is really getting ready to advise government on the legislation aspects of these things. I don't think there are any laws about alcohol content in the blood that we have that are active or in place. So we need to do a lot of work on legislation. Also on implementation of the few that are existing, like seatbelts. We know that we have challenges with the enforcement of this, because somebody can, not wear a seatbelt, but always can have a way of getting out of the situation by, giving a tip to whoever stopping you in the traffic. So, the laws we will work on, also the implementation. Actually, my government is thinking that there's too much being asked for the police to do. There are certain things that, certain ministries should take over. Like the licensing of vehicles. Like the licensing of users. That could be, we think that the police are doing all these things, and we need to separate these functions. So it's work in progress. There's a lot of challenge, not only on the legislation aspect, but also in enforcing these laws.
Thank you, Minister, and also thank you for your candor, because it's actually, it helps much more when you can learn from what countries are struggling with. My colleague from Nigeria, next. I was struck when you spoke, oh, sorry, Liberia, my mistake. You mentioned road safety action plans and a national secretariat, I think that included the police, Interior Ministry, health, etc. That's actually, it's quite impressive that you already have a forum for bringing together the different actors that all need to be involved to make a dent. Can you tell us a little bit how that's working? So does this, the secretariat you have, do they have the reach to actually get the police to do more sobriety checks, seatbelt checks, helmet checks, or how do you see the strength of that coordination right now?
Firstly, the secretariat is pretty new, and the outreach up to this point has not been that much. The secretariat sits within the Ministry of Transport, so the police, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Health have seconded people to the secretariat, and they come to work every day within the Ministry of Transport, setting guidelines and policy as to how to move forward. As it relates to the law, we have all the laws in the book. Our biggest issue is enforcement of the laws. The political will, the enforcement of the law, and sometimes the challenge between collecting revenue and ensuring that safety is permanent. That's our issues.
Thank you, very good. Let me, I hope I'm not going to make another country mistake, but Ghana I know very well. So Ghana, very interesting. You mentioned that you had a road safety, I think it was a commission, that's now being upgraded to the status of a road safety authority. And you mentioned also it comes with more faculties, more powers within the government, but also more money, which is rare. Usually finance ministers are very, I hope there's no finance minister here, very stingy about making more money available for road safety. But tell us about how you're managing to give them A, more of a mandate, and B, more money in Ghana.
Okay, thank you very much. Like the previous ministers have said, in terms of having the laws in our books, they are there. Because National Road Safety Commission has been there over 30 years ago. But what was lacking was the requisite mandate of the authority to enforce institutional work. For instance, if the Minister of Roads construct a road and they are supposed to put a landmark which is not there, the National Road Safety can only go in and the lead agency can only go in and advise. By this time, raising their status into authority, they have more mandate to enforce them and say that if we don't do the landmarks, you cannot open this road. Coming to the issue of all finance ministers all over the world, like I say, my ministers will attest to it. They are all, let me use the word advisedly, stingy. Because in Africa, money, resources are limited and they are competing for different interests. So it is there. So what we've done as a government is to increase the allocation of the agent, now that they are going to be authority. We have said that the road fund of 0.5, they should increase the road fund to 1%. The insurance policy of 0.5, because they were getting insurance money from the insurance company, now they should increase it to 1%. In terms of money that they were supposed to get from maybe Minister of Roads and Minister of Transport, we are supposed to increase the allocation to 2%. The DVLA, that's the Driver and Vehicle License Authority, which is responsible for licensing vehicles, have to increase the allocation from 1% to 2%. The President, only last 2 months, mandated the roads and highways to give them extra millions of dollars for the authority to do their education. So in terms of political will, the President has shown, this present government has shown, and we've put up, like I said, put in 3 ministerial committees, roads, interior, and transport, to make sure that the policies, the programs that the authority, let me use the word authority, is supposed to put in place are really there. So the government has now increased the funding for the National Road Safety Commission.
So I just want to thank just for creative ideas. I mean, everybody has tight budget constraints, but sometimes when you can create a national, a lead agency for road safety and give them some sources of financing that don't sort of go up and down with the annual budget process, like license fees or something from the road fund or something from insurance premia, then you at least give them some base funding that ensures that they can be effective even if it's a tough fiscal crisis and there's a reduction in spending. So that's very, very creative. Let me turn to our colleague from Sierra Leone. I just want to now just press you on a little bit. You know, the elephant in the room is there's been a UN road safety decade of action, which was supposed to see a reduction by half of road fatalities, I think, between 2010 and 2020. And the reality is that target is not going to be met by 2020. Far from it. Road fatalities have actually increased. So I'm sure when Sweden hosts this event next year, there'll be a lot of head scratching and saying, what can we do to actually get back on the right path? So what I'd like to just hear from our colleague in Sierra Leone, when you look at your own country, what would need to happen in the next, say, 10 years for you to reduce by half the number of road fatalities? What would be the key things that you'd want to do? Let's assume the president is ready to move, the finance minister is feeling very generous. What would be your ask? What would you need to actually move the needle?
Well, thank you. What we actually need at this moment, first of all, we need more resources from outside source. Our economy is so small. Coming from war and Ebola, we don't have more resources to spend. What we have found out is actually to implement. The law has been there for a decade, but no proper enforcement. Like, for example, there's a law for drunk driving, but that has never been enforced. You see people driving at night, they have Henneken in their hands, and they drive. You know, and also mobile phone. For now, what we have put in place, we're implementing it. Talking on the phone is a crime. The police and the traffic warden will actually stop you and give you a ticket. So we are actually trying now to go back into the laws where we can amend, add more restrictive measures so that we can actually enforce it. But what we need at this moment, the authority is there. We just put robust ED, the executive director, who is determined to take the authority to higher heights, but it's still be constrained. So I think we will ask this August body to come in where they can to help us meet that target. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let me turn now to the minister from Morocco. I was struck in your intervention when you said, look, in Morocco, if we do a diagnostic of the road accidents, it's 90% driver failure or driver behavior. Yet when I look at like the UN Decade for Action, they actually say, look, you got to focus on 5 different things. One is just the overall management of the system. Do you have the laws? Do you have the rules, the regulation? We talked seatbelt laws, helmet laws, drug, alcohol tests, whatever. The second one is the quality of the infrastructure. I mean, there are roads that are less safe than others because of limitations to the physical infrastructure, line curves, etc. The third one is vehicles. A lot of very unsafe vehicles on many roads in Africa. Then users, and that's what you were saying, the user behavior. And the last one is, well, there's a difference between being in a road accident and surviving it. And one big thing that I think happens in many developing countries is people die after the accident because they bleed to death on site because there's no ambulance or anything to take them to the hospital. So if I could push you a little bit, tell us what Morocco, which has made such an effort here, is doing on those 5 fronts. I mean, you mentioned the behavior, right? But what about sort of the overall management, the road assets, the vehicle quality, and the post-crash support? Are those things improving?
نعم شكرا. بالفعل عندما تحدثت عن الاستراتيجية الوطنية للسلامة الطرقية بالمغرب في أفق 2026 كان واضحا أن هذه الاستراتيجية فيها عدة إجراءات، هي مئات الإجراءات، هي مرتبطة بعدة مستويات تدبيرية. ما يمكن أن نقوله هو أن هذه الاستراتيجية الثانية بنيناها على خلاصات الاستراتيجية الأولى للسلامة الطرقية 2003-2013، والتي أبانت على أن ما قامت به الحكومة المغربية في خطتها الاستراتيجية الأولى بلغ إلى جزء من الأهداف، لكنه لم يصل إلى الأهداف المتوخاة. وبالتالي قضينا 2 إلى 3 سنوات بدعم ومساندة البنك الدولي الذي أسس لمجموعة من الخلاصات، قمنا بإجراءات جديدة في الاستراتيجية الحالية. اليوم يمكن أن أفيد ببعض الأفكار الرئيسية. نموذج استعمال حزام السلامة. لما نزل التشريع في مجال حزام السلامة وألزم حزام السلامة وإلا ستكون هناك مخالفات، كان هناك شبه وعي عام على الصعيد المملكة المغربية وأنه لا أحد سيلتزم بوضع حزام السلامة. فما كنا نقوم به من بحوث ميدانية مثلا في سنة 2008-2009 كانت تشير إلى أنه فقط 15 إلى 20% يستعملون حزام السلامة. آخر البحوث الميدانية التي نقوم بها في 2015-2016 أبانت على أنه أكثر الآن من 70% من المغاربة ملتزمون بوضع حزام السلامة عندما يقودون. إذن هناك تطور هائل والذي نتج عن تغير في فهم معنى السلوك ومعنى السلامة الطرقية، وأصبح كل واحد يفكر بالفعل في إيجابية استعمال حزام السلامة. اليوم الاجتهاد الذي هو عندنا في المغرب هو أن هناك دراسات ميدانية كل 6 أشهر نقوم بدراسات ميدانية والتي تفرز مدى تقدم وتطور التعامل السلوكي للمواطنين عموما مع كل ما هو سلامة طرقية. يمكن أن أعطيكم أرقام مثلا في أواخر 2017، أرقام في النصف الأول من سنة 2017 التي تفيد هل يقف الراجلون في الضوء الأحمر، هل يقف السيارات في الستوب، هل إلى آخره، ونتابع هذه المؤشرات. وعندما نجد أن هناك تطورا إيجابيا في مؤشر نذهب إلى المؤشر الذي يليه الذي لم يتحسن. وبالتالي اليوم هناك توجيه لإجراءات السلامة الطرقية نحو المجالات التي فيها إشكالات حقيقية والتي هي مرتبطة قلت أساسا حسب الدراسات الميدانية عندنا بالسلوك. اليوم نتوجه إذن لفحص ما هو مرتبط بالسلوك، أولا إلى النشء بمعنى إلى الأطفال أساسا، ونركز حملاتنا في المخيمات وفي منتديات الشباب، وندخل السنة المقبلة برنامجا للسلامة الطرقية الذي سيكون من البرامج المعتمدة في المدرسة منذ الابتدائي إلى الطور الإعدادي والثانوي. هناك اجتهادات إبداعية اليوم على أساس أن رخصة السير كنموذج يبدأ الطالب أو التلميذ يتعلم السلامة الطرقية ونعطيه واحد رخصة السير فخرية التي تفيد على أنه اجتاز مباريات ديال السلامة الطرقية وديال السير في المدارس أو في المنتديات الشبابية. الماء يمكن أن يقال في المجال ربما التمويلي، نحن في المغرب ليست عندنا مشاكل في التمويل لمجال السلامة الطرقية، وأقول الحمد لله، بمعنى أن هناك ميزانيات كافية على الصعيد المركزي وأيضا على الصعيد الجهوي والإقليمي التي تمكن من إبداع كل ما من شأنه أن يؤدي إلى السلامة الطرقية. مشكلتنا اليوم في المغرب ليست مع القوانين فهي موجودة، ليست مع الحكمة والتدبير، عندنا هيئات أفقية وهيئات عمودية للتدبير. مشكلتنا لا زالت قائمة اليوم مع تغيير السلوك البشري الذي من شأنه أن يطبق ذلك القانون ويعمل على جعل مشكل السلامة الطرقية مشكلته شخصية وليس فقط مشكلة الآخر.
I invite everyone for 1 second to please just stand up. Please just stand up. As I said, after lunch, people tend to fall asleep, and I saw a few of you with the eyes closing. So I just wanted to make sure that for the last 20 minutes, you all kept very, very awake. So I will invite you to do something very simple. Please just put your hands in cross, like this. and go back to just rest your back. And then come back. And you can clap yourselves and please take a seat. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. I would just like to add one point. You have exactly the same trouble by driving a car, but you never do that. That means that the risk of sleeping by driving a car is a very high risk.
Thank you.
Point. So if there's anyone still sleeping in the audience, please take note that we've had that information. Before, I think we go now to DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Let me just ask. Before, after Morocco. Yeah. So. Oh, Centrafrique. Sorry, Central African Republic. What I'd like you to answer is, you've heard the whole menu of actions that can be taken, right? From laws on seatbelts, helmets. The Ministry from Morocco has made a big point on changing attitudes and behaviors. There's others make the point about better physical infrastructure. If you could do just one thing in the Central African Republic, right? One thing, what would you think would be the highest impact measure that you could take in the Central African Republic to really bring down traffic fatalities?
Faire adhérer l'idée selon laquelle la route représente un danger. La route blesse, la route tue. Dès le jeune âge, nous devons faire prendre conscience à nos enfants, à travers les manuels scolaires, à travers l'éducation, ce que représente le danger de la route. Et en tant qu'usagers de la route eux-mêmes, parce qu'ils vont à l'école souvent non accompagnés de personnes adultes, leur faire représenter le danger de traverser à des endroits non indiqués, en respectant les panneaux de signalisation, puisque le cursus de code de la route doit être déjà partagé au niveau de l'école primaire. Et ensuite, au niveau des pouvoirs publics, c'est mesurer. Mesurer les accidents par tous les moyens. Mesurer pour comprendre et comprendre pour agir. Et on remarquera donc que le facteur humain représente la cause principale de tous les accidents de la route. Et on revient toujours au centrage sur l'homme, à tout ce qui représente l'homme, à son comportement, à son éducation. Et c'est là que nous devons mettre le maximum d'efforts pour diminuer le taux d'accidents sur nos routes. Voilà ce que je peux dire en un seul mot. Tout est sur l'homme. Merci.
So we'll turn now, just last two comments from Comoros and then from Lesotho at the end. Sorry if I skipped the other two speakers, so we can give the audience some time. Comoros, 4 beautiful drops on the map. You have a big rehabilitation program. You know that that's going to lead to increased travel speeds and the risk, at least, of more accidents. But on the other hand, tightening enforcement sometimes is politically risky. Sometimes it upsets road users. Sometimes they get mad. They force the government to back down. Certainly it's happened in many places. So what I'd like to understand from you for the Comoros context, is road safety more of a risk or more of an opportunity for the government? Because it can be either, right? But in your particular case, is this something which the government perceives as an opportunity that will be welcomed by users, or something that people will reject because they don't like tougher enforcement of speed limits and helmets and safety laws, etc.? So opportunity or risk?
Je dirais les deux à la fois. Parce que faire appliquer une loi, ce n'est toujours pas facile au niveau de la population. Surtout que la loi qui existe jusqu'alors, c'est une loi qui date depuis la période coloniale. C'est pour cela que nous tenons à réformer cette loi. Mais surtout à le faire appliquer et à la formation, surtout à cela, parce que il y aura beaucoup de panneaux de signalisation que Les riverains n'ont jamais connu. Les conducteurs n'ont jamais vu ça. Tant sur le plan, au niveau vertical qu'horizontal, ces signalisations qui sont aussi, dirais-je, fait partie de cette loi. Donc ça fait partie des choses que nous aurons du mal à les faire appliquer, bien sûr. Mais aussi au niveau de l'éducation en tant que telle, puisque en appliquant cette loi, il y a beaucoup de choses que les conducteurs avaient déjà pris l'habitude de faire. Conduire sans porter la ceinture, conduire en état d'ivresse, et puis conduire avec le téléphone portable actuellement. Tant de choses qui seront contraintes avec cette nouvelle loi de s'interdire. Donc c'est des choses que certainement il y aura des difficultés à les faire appliquer. Mais aussi les contraventions, nous serons obligés de les faire appliquer partout. Parce que ça, c'est des mesures certainement que nous aurons du mal et qu'avec l'habitude que les gens avaient, nous aurons du mal à les faire appliquer. Mais pour la sécurité de ces chauffeurs, ils finiront par comprendre que ça, c'est pour leur protection. Mais aussi, comme vous l'avez bien dit, le gouvernement, parce qu'il y a deux aspects. Il y a l'aspect sécuritaire en tant que tel par rapport à la nouvelle loi, mais il y a aussi au niveau des routes. Parce que les routes aussi, telles qu'elles y sont actuellement, c'est des routes très étroites dans des conditions très, très, très difficiles. Vous connaissez, nous sommes dans des îles, ça veut dire que c'est des montagnes. L'accès est très, très, très difficile. Et en ce moment, nous sommes obligés, avec le financement de plusieurs organismes, notamment par l'Union européenne, par la BAD, par le Fonds saoudien, nous ouvrons beaucoup de routes. Et beaucoup de routes avec une largeur qui n'y était pas. Donc là, ça veut dire qu'il y a aussi d'autres inconvénients. Nous allons avoir des routes très larges, bien faites, mais il y a cet inconvénient-là que ça risque d'avoir beaucoup d'accidents. C'est pour cela que nous sommes en train de revoir les deux aspects, l'aspect sécuritaire en appliquant la loi d'une manière très rigoureuse à partir de maintenant en réhabilitant ces routes-là. Merci.
Thank you, Minister. So we'll stay in Southern Africa. We'll turn to Lesotho. And just to ask you, one thing that several speakers have mentioned is on the margins of this main event, there's more work going on to create an African Road Safety Observatory. I have to say, one of these observatories was set up in Latin America about 10 years ago. I remember the first time I heard observatory, it sounded like something so passive. What do we need? Observation, etc. But really, nothing could be further from the truth. There's nothing passive about a road safety observatory. It's actually a place that collects data according to an agreed methodology, according to agreed indicators that you can compare across countries, and that will hopefully give each of you as ministers the tools to basically say, look, if I spend on this aspect, it'll give me the greatest reduction in road fatalities. So I'd like to understand a little bit for Lesotho, what would that mean? What would better data help you to do?
Thank you very much. My country of Lesotho is the small country, but the most of people, the millions of people are deaf in the road. I think the first of all is the most of our people are drinking alcohol, are driving under drinking alcohol. The bad road participate, and the potholes, road remarks, and almost the people are not respect the laws. The police, I think, must apply the enforcement. It's better. I think the first of all, it's better to everybody must don't drink and drive. Thank you.
May I suggest that we take a couple of questions?
That's right. So
maybe 2 or 3 questions from the public. I'll ask them if you want to write them, and then we can ask a few members of the distinguished panel to respond.
I was just about to say that Gilles is pressuring me to finish by 4:30, which we will do. So let's collect 2 or 3 questions.
Sure.
Yes.
Questions, please. We will take 2 or 3 questions. There's one here, and there's another one here, and there is a third one here, and I'm sorry for the other ladies and gentlemen. Please meet the ministers afterwards for your questions.
كصوت من المجتمع المدني أنوه بهذا المنتدى الذي ينتظم صانعي القرار في القارة الإفريقية طامحة إلى التعاون وتبادل الخبرة في تجاوز معضلة حوادث السير ولربح رهان تخفيض الحوادث والقتلى ب50%. عادة ما يقال إن التركيز ينبغي أن يكون على الإنسان، ولكنني أود التأكيد على ضرورة إعطاء الأولوية للفضاء الطرقي على أكثر من مستوى. أولاً، تأمين تنقل الفئات عديمة الحماية راجلين بتوفير أرصفة محررة ودراجين بتوفير مسالك خاصة ومعاقين بولوجيات معممة بمعاييرها التقنية. أيضاً تأهيل النقل الحضري والعمومي الرابط بين المدن حتى يصير مغرياً باستعماله مزهداً في وسائل النقل الخاصة. وأستحضر مقولة عمدة مدينة يقول: معيار تقدم بلد ما ليس في أن يمتلك فقراؤه سيارات، ولكن في أن يستعمل أغنياؤه النقل الحضري والعمومي. وأختم بالتأكيد على أهمية الإغاثة الفورية، لأن مستكملة التجهيزات التي تضمن الإنقاذ السريع بالطاقم الطبي المؤهل وبوسائل التدخل السريع. فالمؤكد أن 40% من المصابين في حوادث السير يضيعون بسبب البطء في التدخل والإغاثة السريعة. شكراً.
Thank you for the contribution. It is addressed to the Secretary of State for Transport, but we will take the other questions and then I'll let you answer. Yes. There are 2 others. There's one here, right here, and there's one over there. One right here.
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, it's the first time for me to speak in an international meeting, so I would like to speak in English, and I would ask some questions. I would thank everybody, every one of you for the presentation. That was very informative, and it's quite a big pleasure for us to share these informations. So my question is asked especially from Mr. Landgren Matthias, the State Secretary of Ministry of Enterprise and Innovation in Sweden. So I will thank him very much. He said that sharing information with other countries is a real key to go forward and to solve problems. And our secretary, Mr. Boulif, he said that we have no problems in fundings. The only problem that we have is we have to change our behavior. So, in this case, what we can learn from Sweden experience that we can bring there? Well, when I see the different speeches, I see different ideas from all countries, from Africa to Europe. So it is important, as we are a country in the middle of these countries, to have an amalgam or different thoughts that we can bring and that we can make on place and apply them into our works. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. This question is addressed to Mr. Landgren. And the last question.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Vasco Massa from Liberia, the Executive Director of Save Life Liberia, the only civil society organization working for road safety in Liberia. I have 3 concerns, 1 is general and 2 is to my minister, Honorable Wulu. The first concern I have is on the African continent, the most peculiar issues is that our vehicles are very defective. Vehicles that are outdated are accepted on the African continent. As we are having the first African Road Safety Forum, I would like to know from all of our ministers who are on the podium today, what is it that we are going to do to ensure that vehicles that are imported to Africa are of safety standard? Because this is one of the key things. Whether you are on alcohol influence, whether you are overspeeding inside Moncha, the vehicle is defective, there's a possibility of accident. Then the local concern to my minister is the National Road Safety Action Plan that was developed that the President just endorsed. It have a projected budget of 22.1 million. Of that money will have a huge deficit. I did not hear him making emphasis on the challenge, the financial challenge that Road Safety Action Plan has, because it clearly speaks to all of the key issues that are required for Liberia: the issue of engineering, the issue of enforcement, the issue of emergency response, and the issue of education. But we have a huge budget deficit. He did not mention it. And then finally, the current Road Safety Secretariat that is being set up, it is a promising initiative that is poised to reduce road traffic injuries in Liberia. But unfortunately, we don't have civil society representation on our secretariat. So I'd like to hear from you also what is responsible for which civil society is not represented on that road safety secretariat, considering the fact that civil society represent the larger society, the citizens who are hugely affected by road traffic injuries and death. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. So a question to the Secretary of Transport for Morocco first, and then one question on benchmarking for Sweden, and one question of the quality of the vehicles across Africa not being to par for all of the ministers. If we can stick to that and have quick and sharp answers, we should be able to stick to the time. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, first the response.
شكرا. أود أن أشكر المتدخلين الثلاث اللي بالفعل لم تكن هناك أسئلة مباشرة بقدر ما هي إضافات نوعية. المتدخل الأول بالفعل ركز في مداخلته على ما يعرف عندنا بالفئات عديمي الحماية، وهم الراجلون ثم الأطفال ثم ذوي الإعاقات ثم الذين يستعملون الدراجات، سواء كانت دراجات نارية أو دراجات عادية. هؤلاء بالفعل بالنسبة للاستراتيجية الوطنية على الصعيد المملكة المغربية وضعناهم كأولويات، وأنا في مداخلتي قلت بين الركائز الخمسة وضعنا هؤلاء كأولويات في الاستراتيجية الوطنية على أساس أن نوفر كل ما يمكن في هذا المجال. نموذج فقط المسالك التي ستعتمد بالنسبة للدراجات النارية، عندنا برنامج ديال 2000 كيلومتر سنويا، خاصة في الأماكن التي هي على مشارف المدن الحواضر، لأنه أبناء القرى يستعملون الدراجات النارية للذهاب إلى والعودة من المدرسة. إذن تقريبا 2000 كيلومتر من المسالك سنويا، على أساس أنه لما ننتهي من الاستراتيجية الوطنية غتكون عندنا عشرات الآلاف من الكيلومترات اللي هي معتمدة في هذا الصدد. النقل العمومي هو فكرة بالفعل إيجابية جدا، وكما تعلم اليوم نعمم فكرة النقل العمومي من خلال استعمال وسيلة جديدة اللي هي الترام في مدن كبرى كالرباط والدار البيضاء، وهناك فكرة للتعميم في مدن 3 قريبا إن شاء الله المدن الكبرى الأخرى، على أساس أنه بالفعل نمر إلى عدوا الاستعمال الفردي إلى الاستعمال العمومي للوسائل العمومية للنقل، وما تطوير مجالات السكك الحديدية ثم السكة الجهوية لتران ريجيونو، ثم أيضا الآن الطريق القطار فائق السرعة الذي سيدشن بيومين إن شاء الله، إلا دفعة نوعية على أساس الاهتمام بالمجال بالتنقل العمومي. وهذه فكرة بالفعل لا يمكن إلا أن نعمل على تنفيذها، وخاصة أن المغرب اعتمد ما يعرف اليوم بورقة طريق للنقل المستدام، لا فeuille de route de la mobilité du transport et la mobilité urbaine، وهدفها الأساس هو أن نركز على كل ما يؤسس لنقل مستدام من خلال تخفيض التكلفة وتخفيض الانبعاثات الغازات، وأيضا استعمال الكتف لهذه الوسائل العمومية. إذن الفكرة تسير فيما تفضلتم به في مداخلتكم. فيما يتعلق بالمتدخل الأخير والعربات، بالفعل احنا في المغرب عندنا اجتهاد، وهو أننا نعتمد على دعم مالي لتجديد الحظيرة وتكسير الحظيرة، وهذا الدعم المالي اليوم نحن بصدد أيضا في سنته التاسعة ندعم القانون المالي يصوت عليه غدا بالمجلس النواب، نعتمد نسبة مالية مهمة لدعم تجديد الحظيرة. وأنا لما قدمت إلى وزارة النقل منذ 4 سنوات ونصف تقريبا فيما يتعلق بالفحص التقني، وجدت أن نسبة رفض العربات على الصعيد الوطني في المراقبة التقنية لا تتجاوز 1.2%. وقلت لهم إذا كانت هذه هي النسبة فلا داعي من الفحص التقني، لأنني أرى بأم عيني على أن العربات التي توجد بالفعل تحتاج منا إلى رفض العديد منها في الفحص التقني. ولما قمنا بتدقيق النوديت لتقريبا جميع مراكز الفحص التقني على الصعيد الوطني، اليوم نسبة رفض السيارات والعربات ارتقت إلى 7-8%. وهدفي أو هدف الوزير الذي سيأتي من بعدي والذي وضعناه خلال 3 سنوات المقبلة هو أن نصل إلى 15% تقريبا من نسبة رفض العربات في فحصها التقني. وهذا سيساعد من خلال الدعم المادي أولا، ثم الفحص التقني ثانيا، ثم المراقبة ثالثا على الصعيد الطرقات، من أن نقلص مما تفضل به المتدخل الثالث. شكرا.
Just give a few takeaways in terms of benchmarking that our distinguished ministers could take away.
Well, thank you so much for the question, very interesting one. Well, what I think we really do when I said that we need to cooperate and share information with each other and best practice, well, one opportunity is a conference like this. This is absolutely necessary, and this is the first conference you have here in Africa on this topic, and I think that is the most important thing, that you have these conferences continuously and take political leadership in this. If you don't have a political leadership, nothing will happen actually. That's why we relaunched our Vision Steering in 2016. We launched it the first time in 1997, but we relaunched it in 2016 just to make a political statement that this is something that is really important for this government and we should reach the Vision Zero. Another thing that we are looking into very much is the statistics. We have a system called Strada. It's a Swedish traffic accident data acquisition, and that is that we combine both the police reports and the hospital report of an accident, and to combine those information, we can also then take measurements how to combat traffic accidents. And that's not only on when it comes to car accidents, and then we will see the pedestrians, we will see the bicycles, and we will see those who ride on motorcycles. And the very important thing is to have a holistic approach to this issue and targeting. And that's what I think we all need to come together and to actually, experiences and share the best practices among us. What we have done in this country may work for another, and some other things that some other country come up with can we benefit, and that's why we need to work together, and that's why cooperation is such an important thing, and that is truly a new leadership when it comes to these important issues. Now, another thing that I also would like to mention is that you, as I said, you need to have a holistic approach to this. That means, for example, in Sweden, we launched a bicycle strategy because one of the things is that we like to have more people riding their bikes for job. in order to reach the Paris agreements for the climate change, but also in this bicycle strategy, you also see how to protect the bicyclists from the vehicles, and also this information that we get is also how to design the new infrastructure. So the infrastructure does not solely meet the needs of the vehicles, but also the pedestrians and bicycles. That is also one holistic approach which we need more knowledge about. So in the end, cooperation between the countries is absolutely necessary. We need to have a big political awareness, put it high on the agenda, because as I said before, if we don't have it as a politician, no one else will have it.
Could I ask two ministers maybe to say if there is any initiative in your country to do something about the poor quality of the vehicles that are on the road? Who would like to answer? For the last question, which is specific to the Minister of Liberia, I would ask you to ask him offline.
Old vehicles, I think in most places in Africa, is an issue of policy versus enforcement. For Liberia, we have on the books policies, laws that would not have old vehicles and road-not-worthy vehicles on the road. Whether or not our enforcement agencies are enforcing the laws becomes the problem for us. Let me stick with that, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I have a different approach to this matter. Initially, I was having a discussion with Diof on this particular question that the gentleman asked. The issue of Africa and the issue of second-hand cars is becoming a problem. A problem because we don't have the purchasing power, one, to purchase the quality buses to our continent. And since road safety is a shared responsibility, let us begin to provoke the discussion and see that, like Etienne said this morning, that if those vehicles are not roadworthy in Europe, in America, in China, and in Australia, why then do we export them to Africa? It's a question that we all need to have a look at it and carry the discussion from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to put your hands together and thank these excellencies for expert responses to your questions and expert comments. Thank you very much. At this stage, we're going to take a 25-minute break. Go and refresh yourselves, have a quick look at the exhibition, but please come back here for 5 o'clock sharp. 5 o'clock sharp, we'll have the next panel, which is very interesting as well. Another big round of applause, please, for the ministers.